What is going on, everybody?
What up? What up?
Got a couple guests. So my name's Isaac, and this is.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Nate.
Okay, so we're doing this impromptu because we're here chilling at a church event. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. Let's start with Jessica and how you guys are involved at the church.
I'm Jessica. I am 21 years old, and I'm the social media manager here at Vital Church, and I'm also leading the photography team. So that's kind of what I do in this place.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Leon's here too.
So yeah, my name's Nate. Bless you. I am the sound engineer here at Vital Church. I am blessed to be working under Pastor Abraham Martinez, who's a Grammy Award winner, 3-time Grammy Award winner. Yeah, I'm not sure. One day he just had a conversation with me, and he was just like, "Bro, he goes, I see so much potential in you that I just want to invest like the next year into you and just teach you everything I know." And I was like, I don't know what I did to deserve that, but I ain't gonna complain. So that's how I got started here, and yeah, it's been a blessing ever since. And yeah, I love working here.
So Nate, you just launched a business,
I did,
right? Tell us
yeah.
a little bit about that, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I just launched a business. It's called Resonate Productions or Resonate Productions. So it kind of started with me wanting to put my name out there as a sound engineer. So I kind of posted like um, a little thing on my story, just like, "Hey guys, like I'm available for hire for your event." And so I started promoting myself like that. And then I started getting like a lot of phone calls, and things were kind of picking up steam, which is pretty cool. Praise God for that. And then um, I'm also part of a band called Worship Alive, and I kind of drew up. It's because we needed some equipment, so I kind of drew up this like spreadsheet or like a quote almost of like the equipment we need and how much it's gonna cost. And I think it was gonna cost somewhere like, I don't know, between $5,000 and $6,000. And like I presented it to the team, but obviously like that's not something easy to pay for, you know. So um, just one day I was kind of like in the office, and I just randomly got like a what really felt like a download from God, and it was like, what if like I started my own business, used my business to purchase all of that equipment, and as I do events for people, it kind of pays itself, and then us as a band, like we could just use that equipment. And so um, literally from one day to the next, I filed with the Texas Secretary of State for the LLC, um, and it was approved. So I opened up the business bank account. Shout out John Franco for helping me out with that. Yeah. So uh, it really was just like from one day to the next, I'm just like now this business owner, and I'm just like, what happened? You know, like I
Yeah.
just in a blink of an eye. So praise God, I made the announcement, and I've been getting a lot of inquiries, and it's just been really cool seeing God's hand over that, and it's just a testimony of God's goodness and faithfulness over my life. So yeah, so if you guys need anything production wise, I offer everything. So that's another thing too. Like it went from me just offering myself as a sound engineer to offering sound engineer and like PA. Hey, thank you. But then also just I was like, you know what? I just also have experience in like pro presenter and live stream and photography and videography, and I was like, what if I just did like a production company where it covers all the areas? So then I was like, you know what? Let me just do Resonate Productions. So if you guys need anything production wise, feel free to reach out to me, and yeah, I would love to be hired for your next event.
Love it, dude. Thanks for sharing that. Hey, I have a follow up question. You can think about it now, talking to somebody who's a young Christian that's like trying to figure out how to make money and like take that leap. So we'll come back to that. So Jessica, you're 21. You're a young lady, and you're working at the church. I know you had some secular jobs and all that kind of stuff. How do you? What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's trying to decide whether they should go like into ministry or just make money? Like, what do you think about that?
I think the main thing that that brought me here was honestly trusting God through every step. I did school for a while, and then I realized that wasn't for me, and that's not everyone's case. But so yeah, I did school. I wanted to go into education, and I really thought that was where I was supposed to be. And but I just kept trusting God through everything. I had secular jobs. I was a server for like 3 years, and then all of a sudden, like, I just felt the call to start serving the church, and that's kind of where I got what's the word? Like, I just started meeting new people with experience in the area I'm doing now. So yeah, so I trusted God throughout all of it, and He lined everything up perfectly for me. Now I'm here working full time, and yeah, it's great.
You also own your own business, right?
Yeah, I do photography. I have a photography business on the side, and that's also super fun. I also kind of did the same thing Nate did. I took a step of faith and bought a camera, even though I wasn't as experienced as I am now. And honestly, through church and the community, I've gotten a lot of more clients and yeah, people reaching out to me. So yeah.
Nice. So both of you guys, talk to us about, like, because you're both young adults and you've taken a leap of faith, right? You're both working for church, and it could be easy to like just go into the world and make money, right? And it's also really difficult to put yourself out there and start a business, right? So talk to us about, like, how do you overcome that hurdle of like thinking like, well, what are people are gonna think about me if I'm promoting my business? Like what should is this even Christian to be like, come give me money? Or like, talk to us about that, and talk to, because I know there's a lot of creatives, Gen Z, millennials. So talk to those guys.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think the first thing that comes to mind, and um, I actually got this piece of advice from Pastor Abe when I was telling him about first me putting my name out there as a sound engineer, um, and now with my business. He says just to be careful, because what's gonna happen a lot is that um, I'm gonna get a lot of people telling me like, well, this is a ministry, like you shouldn't be charging me, or you shouldn't be kind of doing those kinds of things. But Pastor Abe also said like, but Pastor Abe, he told me that he's like, yes, like this is a ministry and we're doing this for God, but at the same time, like we have to provide for our families as well. And I think um, that's where you have to find the balance, because like, yes, we're doing this for God's honor and glory, um, and we're doing this to save souls and grow the kingdom, and or maybe just congregate and worship Him together. But um, it does take a lot of time and effort and work to do a lot of these things, and also just years of training, years of learning, um, and a lot of that sometimes wasn't free, or sometimes like um, the time that we put into it, like even though we were maybe, for example, I learned a lot of stuff on YouTube, but it was like hours and hours worth of learning, to where now we're able to do that for others who may not know how to do that. So that's where it can kind of turn into a business idea, or of a way to make a living, to provide for your family, um, but also doing what you love and for the kingdom. So it's a blessing in so many ways, right? Um, I remember one time you told me, I think when I first started working at Vital as staff, you said that not a lot of jobs in this world have like an eternal, what'd you say, not effect, or like a impact, something. You're like, bro, you told me something along the lines like, bro, like your job has like an eternal impact on our lives. And I had never seen it that way, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, and it's just a blessing to be able to do that, week in, week out. And um, even though it is like a lot of work, and a lot goes into it, for example, Easter Juntos, That's one of our biggest services of the year, and it's very like grueling, very taxing on the body, and very little sleep, and just a lot of hours, a lot of sweat. But the moment that the altar call is made and like hundreds of people go to give their lives to Christ, it's like you can't put a price on that. You can't put any amount of work or whatever. So it's like it's all worth it. So I just kind of carry that mentality like in anything that I do. Just it's all for His honor and His glory, and finding, kind of circling back to the question, is like you find that balance between that and having to make a living for your family and yourself. So I think that's kind of where the balance is kind of found. So
I will piggyback off that. Going back to the question, how to find like the balance between.
yeah, sorry, I kind of yapped for a little
I
bit.
know, I'm just a yapper. I'm just kidding. Finding the balance between those two things. I did find myself when I first started doing a lot of things for free. So my business wasn't really a business; it was more of a hobby. I had my personal page for it, but I still didn't charge anyone. I didn't like to charge because it was something that I was doing for fun. But coming back to it for church, like in the church area, I found myself doing a lot of conferences, small like events at different churches for free, and I didn't like to charge. And I still, to this day, I don't think I've ever charged for a church event, but I did find myself in a season of like burnout because I would do so much for free, and I don't know how to say this. Cut. Like I was doing so much, and I still had to make a living, or still had to make money somehow. This was back then when I was still serving not at church, sorry, at a restaurant, my secular job. So I had to find a perfect balance of, hey, I need to put in hours at work, but I also really love serving the church. So back to what he was saying, you just need to know how to balance those two things out. But yeah, sorry, I yapped a little bit too.
No worries. Speak to the people who are like, they have like a dream, and maybe even you guys have a dream. Well, first, let's start with that. What's your big vision? Do you have like a big vision yet?
My personal dream is to one day open up my own studio, my own photography studio, and of course a business, maybe working for weddings, quinceañeras, all that. That's the big picture of it in my case.
Yeah. So for me, before, and the reason I say before is because I think this launch of this new business, I just did it like a week ago.
Yeah, it's fresh.
I think not that my dreams changed, but it does kind of maybe change my goals a little bit. But before, I think my goal or my dream was I want to travel the world running sound for, I don't know, whoever it is, but like I get to travel the world doing that. Experience, this world that God created and all its beauty, and also do what I love, and then again, just making a living for my family and myself. And that was definitely the dream. Now that I have this company, I think it kind of still is that dream. I think maybe that dream is still alive, but also adding to that is just that maybe I could just create a company that will not only self-sustain and like we can be financially set for my family and I, but I do just want to be I do want it to be a company that just always honors and glorifies God. And for example, like I really don't want to do, and I've already made this decision, but I'm not going to work for secular bands. I'm not going to work like for things like that. I'm mainly going to
What
work
if Bruno Mars calls?
I'm not going to do that.
Ooh.
I'll run sound for Bruno.
And don't get me wrong, like Bruno Mars is a great musician. Like his stuff is insane, but that's definitely a personal conviction of mine, is that God gave me the ability to not only learn how to do it, but like understand what I'm doing and maybe even do it with excellence, and I don't want to use that the wrong way. Same thing with like music that I play. Like I don't really play secular music, um, but yeah, I just feel for me that it would maybe be a little disrespectful to God in that way. And I'm not saying that that should be for everybody,
Yeah.
but like that's just my personal conviction,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a feeling that God's gonna honor that somehow. So
And it aligns with your mentor. Like that speaks
for
to where
sure.
you're coming from. Because
yeah, Pastor Abe does the same thing. He's told me stories that he's had several opportunities to run sound for secular artists and stuff like that, but he's denied it. And look at the places that God has taken him. So, you're right. That's definitely something that I admire about him.
yeah. So you guys know Young Creatives. There's Young Creatives all over the place. Every church has a couple at least. We have a ton here, but they have this amazing vision and these awesome goals that never come to fruition. So give advice to those people. How do you fight that? Like, where do you go from here? You know?
Yeah. Something that I've kind of learned in ministry is just because you're the one that plants the seed doesn't mean you're the one that's going to harvest it. And like, there's a lot of things that um, either I've worked on or maybe like a former mentor of mine has worked on, and it didn't really pan out for them or for me. But then I've seen it grow into what I envisioned it to be later, maybe not under my own watch, but it eventually got there. And so I think it's all part of God's plan because it's not us who are doing it, right? It's God doing it through us. So for me, like I may be putting my time and attention and effort into something, but it might not be, the end result might not be for me, and it's gonna be able to bless others one day. So that's kind of something that I've learned in ministry.
I think also knowing that God's plans are better than our plans and his ways are higher than our ways. Um, just the fact that it's easier said than done. I can testify to that in my life. It's easier said than done to trust in God and just trust in his plan for your future, for your life. But personally, like, this was never something I planned to do. The position I'm in my life was never a plan of mine, but that was God's plan for my life and his will for my life. And I think just trusting that even though it's not looking fine right now, like at the end of the day, his plan is gonna take he's gonna take control over your life. And yeah, just trust him.
That's good. Well, thank you all so much. I know that there's a Bible verse that says that he gives us the desires of our hearts. You know, a lot of people think that could mean, well, like the desires in your hearts, that's what he gives you. And I actually don't know about that. I think that verse could mean that he's the one who puts those desires in your heart, right? As long as they align to his, like, whatever. It's like, well, I want to own a bunch of like smoke shops. Like, okay, well, I don't know about that,
Yeah.
So here we go. Let's get into the nitty and the gritty, right? So Jessica, you go first. What do you think? You're 21, Gen Z. Talk to us about what your generation is longing for and needing, and then we'll go to Nate, right, with the men. Let's talk about it.
That's a good question. Longing and needing.
Like, what's a big issue happening?
I think going back to our service this past Wednesday, something that's really big in our generation is social media. I think everything Isaac Aguirre, shout out Isaac, said is true. We tend to scroll and compare our lives to other people. And I feel like a lot of creators in a way fantasize their lives And I feel like that's one of our problems in our generation. We see those creators and we want our lives to look that way, but that's just not realistic. So I think as Gen Z, um, we've seen it here at our youth ministry that there's a fire for God and there's a desire for God and for His presence. But um, yeah, I think that's just one of our biggest issues right now. Just laying it all down to Him and just sacrificing. But yeah.
I think for me, I'm a little older, and I think I've had the chance to kind of over the years just kind of watch how things have played out. Um, I think one thing I've noticed is that in my generation, a lot of people throughout the last 10 years or maybe even more, 15, 20 years, they've been trying to search for answers to things that's not God. And they try to find their answers in, at first it started with drugs and alcohol and things like that, and then it kind of just shifted to your gender identity and like all these things, um, and homosexuality and all that kind of stuff.
And being gay.
Yeah.
It's like gender identity. Homosexuality. Being gay.
Yeah.
Gosh, like there's one thing.
Yeah. So I think like these have all been kind of like ways of people trying to find ways to make themselves happy, things like that. And and honestly, these things kind of turn into trends, which is kind of crazy, right?
For
like,
sure.
And like, it works. It only works for so long, until it doesn't. And these trends aren't built to last. Like, But God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I think what's cool that I'm noticing is, I hate to say that it's kind of a trend, but I guess I'm maybe hoping that this one sticks. I've been seeing a lot of my friends from high school and then just people in my generation turn to God and finding out like, He is the way and the truth and they could rely on Him. So I think to answer your question is people have been looking for that foundation, and my prayer has been that people eventually find it and know that this is the way, even now, like with the whole rioting, like that's happening with ICE and stuff, like people keep wanting to point fingers at people at whether it's politicians or things like that. But I think it's just part of that foundation is having an authority and a solid like foundation and law, and like I think someone said recently, can you imagine like well, maybe it was you, can you imagine like if all of us were spent, oh no, maybe it was Isaac Aguirre, that can you imagine if we all just spent as much time, oh yeah, it was in the sermon that he just preached.
Yeah, it was.
Can you imagine that if we all spent as much time like reading our Bible and stuff like that as we do on social media, like can you imagine like if the entire world was on that trend, like how different this world would be, So I just think for me, people have just been searching the answers in all the wrong places, and I'm kind of glad to see that it's turning around. So I think that's the answer for me.
I wonder why. Like, I mean, Gen Z, you're up with the Jessica, you're up with the trends and all that kind of stuff. Why do you think? Because like TikTok, is it TikTok Christianity or something? What's happening? And why is it happening, you think?
Honestly, I don't want to say it's a trend, same thing as Nate said, but I have been noticing that as well, because when I was part of the youth ministry, I was the only person in my high school showing up to youth service. I was the only, and in a way I felt like I was the only Christian in my school. Not that I was, but it kind of felt like that. And now we see in our youth ministry, there's like groups of youth showing up from the same high school, and you can tell and I feel like it takes one person to invite people and just one touch from the Lord and you're completely changed. And I feel like social media can be a huge help to that. I feel like that's a way for people to discover new things, and just having social media, having following trends. We were talking about this earlier. That can show up on a random person's Instagram feed, and that can they can show interest to that and just show up to a Sunday service, a Wednesday service, and just experience what having the Lord in your life is like. So I really do think it takes one person to bring people to the kingdom.
Yeah. Alrighty. So what's next for you guys? I mean, I know that we know your vision now. What are you guys excited about in this next season? Anything that you're working on that maybe you could share, be a little open about, that you're excited for God to move in your life? Anything coming up for y'all?
I think for me, it's the obvious answer. It's my company that I just launched. I was just telling Isaac that I had, this is not official, but I did have someone reach out to me um, for an event, and they're asking for like the full production. And like, yes, I launched my company, but if I'm being, transparent, right now I don't have any equipment like at all. So what's gonna have to happen for me is I'm gonna have to subcontract, which is a thing, So I reached out to a buddy of mine who also owns a production company, but he's more set up than I am, and he's been in the game for 18 years. And so we had a phone call the other day, and he said that he would love to help me out. So, we all start from somewhere, I guess. So for me, I'm literally like in ground zero. So I right now I don't have any equipment, but as I do events, that'll give me more money to be able to purchase my own equipment and kind of just move from there. But yeah, like this event coming up, that is like she's wanting everything, like sound, video, LED walls,
Hey, hit me up.
Pro Presenter, huh?
Hit me up.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh no. But yeah, that's kind of what's next for me. I've had, praise God, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and asking for my services and things like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much what's next for me. I don't know about you.
I think for me, I found myself in a way taking a break from my business. I wasn't saying no to a lot of clients, but I also wasn't putting myself out there for people to book me or just hire me for whatever event or anything. So I've really been praying about it lately, and just I think I want to start like promoting myself a little more. I know I haven't posted in my photography page in maybe like 2-3 months, but I'm blessed to still have people reach out to me. But yeah, I think that's what I want to start doing again, promoting myself, getting myself out there again. And yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you guys. Blessing both of y'all's businesses. So if you guys need photography, or shout out your social medias, where can people find y'all?
My Instagram is, my personal Instagram is Jessica Parrales _, and my Instagram is photos by Jessica. The I is a 1 instead because they took my username.
My personal page is natevela.wave, and then my company's page is Resonate Productions. I got so lucky the name was available, but
Nice.
all the other different variations of the name wasn't. So like I saw like Resonate.Productions taken, or Resonate Productions Florida taken, and I'm like,
But the real,
But
like
the
without
actual-
the dot?
yeah, like just the
Wow.
original was available, and I was like, praise God. Like,
That's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, so very easy. Resonate Productions. You can find me on Instagram, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. So if you're a young Christian creative, hopefully you learned something from this, and we bless them. We bless you guys. And yeah, the kingdom needs more creatives just letting their creativity flow, right? I mean, the world has it, and they're okay with making money doing it. And so why don't we support our friends and do that kind of stuff?
For sure.
All right. Well, love you guys. Thank you for being a part of this podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.